Welcome, everyone. Today is Monday, May 19th, 2025, and this is a regular meeting of the City of Asbury Park Planning Board. Chairwoman Kurzak, can you please call this meeting to order?
Yes, this meeting is being held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. Adequate notice of this meeting have been provided to the Coaster and Asbury Park Press by publication of the annual meeting notice and posted on the municipal bulletin board and municipal website. All notices are on file with the board secretary. Official action may be taken on the following matters before this board. This meeting is being recorded by APTV for your viewing pleasure. Please join me in a salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will now take roll call. James Bonanno.
Here.
Councilwoman Clayton is absent this evening. Jim Henry.
Here.
Jeremy Hoffman.
Present.
Mayor Moore. Mayor Moore is not here. Hold on a second. Okay, Jen Souter.
Here.
Daniel Shenameo.
Here.
Bob Zuckerman.
Here.
Kathy McLaughlin.
Here.
Vice Chair Goonan.
Here.
And Chairwoman Kurzak.
Here. All right, the first item up is a resolution for 637 and 701 Lake Avenue, an amendment. Can I get a motion to approve this, the resolution?
The eligible members are James Bonanno, Michael Goonan, Barbara Kurzak, John Moore, and Jennifer Souter.
Motion to approve?
Second?
That was Mike.
Oh, it's Mike. Okay.
Mike and James.
Okay, Mike and James. Okay, James Bonanno,
Yes.
Michael Goonan,
Yes.
John Moore, Jennifer Souter.
Yes.
And Barbara Kurzak.
Yes. The second one is we have a resolution regarding the Main Street redevelopment plan. Can I get a motion to approve?
And do we need the list of eligible members for this one?
Yes, please.
Okie dokie. And that is Barbara Kurzak, John
Yes.
Moore, Jim Henry, Yvonne Clayton, Michael Goonan, Catherine McLaughlin, and Daniel Shenameo are eligible to motion or second.
Am I not?
You're not on here, but you abstained from voting.
Oh, yep, there we go.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Jim Henry,
Yes.
Michael Goonan,
Yes.
Catherine McLaughlin,
Yes.
Daniel Shenameo,
Yes.
Barbara Kurzak.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, we have our first and only application, the views of North Shore. This was carried from April 7th.
Some housekeeping on that, Madam
Sure.
Chair? Okay, Jennifer, Mr. Zuckerman has observed the video and the transcripts, so he's eligible to vote. I just wasn't aware of it. So we'll put it on the record now, and I'll get a written certification from him, but that's correct, Bob?
That is correct.
Yeah, so, okay, so you've got 9 members, the rest of the members, then I think you'll have 8 members.
I was marked as not
I
in attendance.
marked him as not here,
I
but
have
he
you
was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect, okay.
Yeah, I have you on that, on this one.
Awesome.
So the only, Mr. Shenameo can't vote, but he can participate in tonight. He's not eligible to vote. So yeah, I think you've got 8, I'm not sure. Is that 8? 8 eligible?
Looks like it.
I have an additional question,
Yes.
which is that this is, from watching the video, this is a Hovnanian development, is that correct? Is this?
So
No?
the applicant is APW redeveloper, but we are under contract to sell the property to KF Nanian.
Okay, only because I own a unit in a Hovnanian development, I just want to make sure that that's not a conflict. I mean, it isn't to me,
Currently
but
involved in any dispute or
Absolutely
doing work
not.
for them or anything like that?
no.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine with me if it's okay with you.
It's okay with me. I appreciate the disclosure.
Yeah,
though.
shouldn't-
Yeah, I just wanted to be
Yeah,
upfront.
that's okay.
Okay, great, thanks.
All right.
I'm good to go.
Go ahead.
Thank you, everyone. For the record, I am Jennifer Phillips Smith, an attorney with Gibbons, here on behalf of the applicant APW redeveloper. I'd like to pick up exactly where we left off last time. So if you recall, in the last few minutes on April 7th, we went through a list of changes that the board asked the applicant to consider. So I'm going to give just a quick summary, and then I'm going to ask Mr. Curley to go into some detail on those changes. We did resubmit plans on April 28th to address a number of the changes. We were asked specifically to show an address and do something decorative with what we were calling the trapezoid area in front of each building. You'll see in the packages that were resubmitted that that is what we did. I will note that they say 201 and 203 North Shore. Those are just purely placeholder text. We're not exactly sure what the address is going to be in the buildings, but whatever the address is would be represented there. So I'm sure you saw in those plan sets that the decorative entrance was redone to put in the address, to put in the Trex slats behind it, to create a planting beds for perennials and grasses that would go in front, to really dress up the front, which is what the board had asked the applicant to do. And that's the same for both buildings. You asked us to provide a metal detail, or a detail for the metal garage doors. That was also in the very last page of the package that was submitted. You asked us for renderings. If you go one up, actually, one slide up. You asked us for renderings that show the taller plantings on the side. Those were submitted so that you have multiple sheets that show the side of the building and what the taller planters with the expanded openings and louvers would look like. You asked us to add sign for the architect. We indicated that if you end up approving this project, we would do that as a condition of approval, add a plaque somewhere for the architect. You asked us about gutters, and Mr. Curley is going to give some specific testimony today about gutters and how those will tie in to the stormwater system. You asked us about colors, which we are going to hand out to you. I hope the color samples. Yes. We'll hand those up front.
Yeah, we're gonna mark it. That's just a color selection.
Sure. It's we'd already submitted the flat sheet that showed it, but that's a 3D sheet that shows the
You
colors.
got a sheet already marked?
No, but we'll mark that one as
mark it.
A8. I think we're up to 8. I believe we ended the last meeting at A7.
All right, we'll make it A8.
All right, so A8 will be the color sample board. And as I said, we already provided testimony as to the colors, but there was a desire to see them. So those are the samples. You asked us to add fencing, and Mr. Curley will describe where that fencing was in fact added along the property line to shield lights coming out of a garage. You asked us to move the ADA spaces so that the spaces and the associated loading area would line up to nicely fit with the crosswalk and the sidewalks on the side. Mr. Curley will testify as to that. And you asked us to make some lighting changes, which Mr. Curley has done, and he'll provide some additional testimony. So we are going to ask Mr. Curley to just quickly go through some of the more technical aspects of those changes to respond to the questions that the board had at the end of the meeting. And after Mr. Curley, we'll then proceed to Mr. Barry, because we did not get a chance to do our planning testimony last time. So we'll conclude with Mr. Barry. So with that, I would like to ask Mr. Curley to testify.
Please raise your right hand. So swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name for the record and spell it.
Robert Curley.
Thank you.
C-U-R-L-E-Y.
Thank you. And I'll swear in my staff as well. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your names for the record and your affiliation with the board.
Donna Miller, board planner.
Sam Avakian, board engineer.
Thank you. Thanks, Bob.
Right. Mr. Curley was previously accepted as an expert in the field of civil engineering at the last hearing. I presume that continues. We think the easiest way to go about this is we received 2 revised letters from your professional staff. One was a letter from CCH that was updated as of May 12th, 2025, and the other was an updated letter from Avakian dated May 13th, 2025. So we went through, and I think the easiest way to tackle this is for us to address some of the comments that came up in that letter and explain how they were dealt with and how we may be able to do some things either further improve upon that. So I'm going to start with the CCH letter and specifically section 1.2. and kind of just run through those points, because those were the points that dealt with the updated changes. So Mr. Curley, the very first one in 1.2A asks to clarify the roof drainage system. So if you could talk a little bit about the gutters and about the downspouts that are on the plans and ones that maybe should be added to the plans in addition, that would be helpful.
Okay, so right now we're looking at just the front view of the building, and the concern was voiced on how would we handle the roof runoff that would occur off of these protrusions on the portions of the building. So the corners of the buildings and the tall center pieces are going to be taken with gutters, and then those gutters will discharge onto the roof. And then from the roof, they go through scuppers, and then there's downspouts attached to those. And then on these smaller two roofs, we have gutters, but we have a different application that was not depicted on the plans previously. And I think this, let's see.
That one. Yeah. So we'd like to mark this one as A9. And this is in response to the comments that we received. Mr. Curley, what is A9?
So this is a three-page exhibit, and the first 2 pages deal with the roof screening. So, and then the last page identifies the location and the treatment of how we were getting gutters down the face of the building.
So we'll call this the roof screening and drainage exhibit.
Correct.
Okay.
Now I have, I made some 11x17s. I have 10. I didn't know if you wanted to pass those out and give those to the board members at the time.
Okay. So Mr. Curley, if you could scroll to the page that deals with the gutters and the roof drainage and just explain how those gutters will tie in.
So this exhibit depicts the top left portion of this exhibit depicts the roof leader configuration that would be constructed, and it brings all of the rainwater onto the proposed roof, and then from there it's pitched to scuppers that discharge. And I can show that location. They were on the plans previously. Again, so the new portion that was not, I think, as clear was how we would treat the roof runoff from these 2 portions of the site. So what we're doing is running a gutter across the top, and then bringing a gutter down the face of the building, and then it would tie into a lateral system that'll ultimately run around the building and tie into the stormwater detention basin. So it won't discharge into the planter area, but it'll be a solid pipe that'll get all the way around to the stormwater management system.
Yeah, Bob, so it's not actually tying into it, it's just going to the splash block on the top left?
That's the corner.
That's inside the
two
roof?
corners, and these, yes, that's inside the roof.
Okay.
That's the 2 centerpieces that are on either side of the entrance door and the 2 corners.
The plans that were previously submitted showed where those ones that are tied into the roof discharge on the side of the building down the drains, correct?
So just to be,
And the gutter, the coloration of the gutter will match the siding as it comes down.
but the siding keeps changing. So what color is it going to be?
And it'll change.
It'll change with the siding?
That's correct.
Okay. So I'm not clear as to where is the gutter going? Because you have it in
Well,
blue.
here's the gutter.
Yes,
across
but
the
where
front
is
end,
that?
And that would be highlighted in blue and with the
Okay, so that's-
detail coming out here. So
That's that
here's,
little shed roof.
So it's like
that
2 of
bay.
them. All right, so
Right.
where's the rest of them?
well, let me.
Okay, go ahead.
So this depicts it that the gutter would pitch from the left to the right, and then there would be a downspout. And then that is this detail, showing that the downspout would be on the left-hand side in this particular instance, coming straight down and then into the planter area. And then from the planter area, it would be a solid pipe into the stormwater management system. And that would be mirrored on the opposite side.
All right, and then for the other 4 towers,
Bob, so also like, do you have any type of like leaf guard or anything as such? Oh, there's actually, no, excuse me, don't forget it. So nothing pre-treated, but it's not needed, there's no trees around this big building.
That's correct.
No, right, yes.
So the other application, which would be the both sides and then the center portion, has gutters that wrap around because it's pitched in 4 directions. So it has a gutter that wraps around the entire perimeter, but it is all pitched to the back that would go into the building and discharge onto the roof. And then from the roof, it would sheet flow to the scuppers.
and those come down the side of the building.
Correct. And I can believe let's just,
I think if you scroll down a few.
sorry. Struggling here. So let me get the right view.
I think it's on there. There we go.
So
One view down.
I'm sorry. Should have had this keyed.
There you go.
So, and I apologize for taking so long to get to this. Because they are hidden so well with the coloration of the building, this is the gutter, or excuse me, the downspout that would come from the scupper down the building line, likewise at this point. And again, this is, it's showing the gutter not changing color, but it will change color with the material facing the building.
And that all ends up going into the stormwater management system?
That will tie directly, yes, it'll be hard piped.
All of it goes right to?
All
to
hard
that.
piped
Okay.
into the stormwater management system. And I apologize for struggling.
And I hate to make you struggle further, but,
That's fine.
so my concern is on the front elevation where those pergola roofs and the shed roofs, where the downspout is gonna come down. I'm on, what sheet is this, 13? 12, sheet 12 of 28. I think that's gonna show what I'm, yeah,
Okay.
if you zoom in tight on those balconies. Okay, and at the roof level, where those, so the gutter's gonna be on the, underneath those, wow, totally, the brackets. Wow, that
Correct.
did not want to help at all, okay.
It will come
So
down
that little shed roof is gonna have a gutter
right here.
on one, and then a downspout on one side.
Correct.
But these balconies, on the indented portion of the building, extend across the face of where that, so how is the gutter
immediately
coming down?
adjacent to
Or how
that.
is the downspout coming down? I'm sorry?
It'll be immediately adjacent to that, to the side of the
So
deck.
it's gonna be between the window and that
That's correct.
ramp, okay, and then it's gonna come down, okay, across the face down to the foundation level, okay, and into the planter.
Okay. Okay. So then,
When we talked about this last time, I just have a question. The four big ones that are all the way around, we talked about draining them onto the roof. But I think last time we talked about, do those ones that just pour out, there's nothing underneath them except for plants? Do we need a gutter there? Because it's going to have this extra downspout, down, as you said, it's going to kind of have to jigger down the front of this building around balconies.
It's going to be a straight discharge. It won't have bends in it.
I guess my question would be for you, in your opinion, do these need gutters? These ones that-
It is a pretty big fall. It's not a real lot of drainage, but there would be the potential for washout if it were to rain hard. Then you end up with a drip line in
Okay.
where the vegetation's being. That's what we're trying to avoid.
so the next item in the CCH report was 1.2B. And that was a comment about revising the main entrance. So as I mentioned, we have submitted plans that show the revised entranceway with the address in it. Maybe if you could show the rendering, because that's where it's clearer. It shows the plantings. It shows the plantings, it shows the Trex material behind it that was shown on the sheet that was submitted, and the address. The address numbers, there's a sheet that shows you that they're metal numbering with a soft LED backlight behind them. So, Mr. Curley, there was a note that indicated that the site plans had not yet been updated to incorporate all the features that are shown in the rendering, but as a condition of approval, you can update the site plans to match what's on the rendering, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Next, we go to,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Was the planter always there and it just didn't actually have planting in it in the previous? Or has the planter in front of the entrance been added?
My understanding, and Mr. Curley can correct me if I'm wrong, is that the face of the stairwell was sort of indented a little bit in order to make room for approximately 18 inches of planting. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so that gets to my second question. Is that indentation does that mean the stairwell itself is narrower than it was previously? Where did those 18 inches come from?
That's a good question.
There used to be stairs. The stairs used to go all
I
the way
think it was
across.
just a step.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It was, there were, as you can see on either side of the entrance, there are 3 steps. So we had to have that distance, and we used that distance to make up where the planter is.
So those 3 steps went all the way across before?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, so that, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I just had a question. I like the addition. I mean, I think that's an improvement for sure.
Agreed.
I'm just wondering about the plant list, which I know is like a separate list, right, and unattached. And I do overall like the plant list. It's great for this project. But I was wondering if maybe some of the other species could be brought in here instead of, I don't know, is that like a set, is the plant list set, is my question.
I think that the intent is to plant this area of perennials and grasses, and I think the applicant would be open to discussing any of the plants from the plant list or similar plants for this area.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Next on the list was section 1.2C. If you could go to the site plan, there was a request to better align the ADA spaces and create a crosswalk through the middle of the property. Mr. Curley, I know that you revised the site plans to make that happen, correct?
That's correct.
So within the resubmitted package, if you could scroll up to
I didn't know.
it's at the beginning. There we go. So we're working within the resubmitted package. And I think this is sheet 3 you're showing right now, correct? Or sheet 4?
Sheet 4 is this, but I can scroll back.
That's fine. So we can see here that you've revised the layout to have the crosswalk, to the best of your ability, line up with the loading areas and the sidewalk, correct?
Well, the crosswalk is aligned with the sidewalk access that would potentially go to the garage entrance on the sides. So we relocated the handicap stalls from the corners and then brought them more centrally located so that the handicap ramp could accommodate access right into the side of the garage.
Now, there was also a comment that from these spaces, the intent is not for people to use those spaces and then go around to the front of the building to access the building, correct?
That's correct. They would again, park in the parking field, walk up the sidewalk, and then into the garage. It'd be a key fob door. Key fob lock.
Great.
Can I ask you a question? The crosswalk, thank you for adding that. Is there any reason it doesn't actually angle and directly connect the two? Like, it leads into half of a parking space? Or if the crosswalk was just a little bit angled?
I can get that corrected. It's a drafting.
If it's just a drafting thing, forget it.
All right, next on the list was we were asked to show.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry. So the garage, so there's the, for lack of a better term, a pedestrian entrance to the garage door on the side. And that's gonna be key fob. Is it also a, and again, if somebody else needs to answer the question. And I don't know how many doors this applies to. So if you have a visitor and they come up to the building, how do they, like, is there an intercom or an app system or something? How do you contact the resident? I'm sorry?
A visitor would be coming in the front door.
Right, so how do they get access?
there's elevators at the front doors.
No. Like, is the
Any-
door
any
locked? Like,
physically-
can anybody walk in off the
Oh.
street and go upstairs into the building and knock on anybody's door, or is
No,
there?
I don't want to
security?
answer incorrectly only because I don't know what type of bell system that they intend to have.
So that's fine, someone else can answer the question. But it would just went to the point of, if you have a guest that needs the accessible space, if they go to that side door, they're gonna be able to have the same means of access to contact the person they're visiting as they would at the front door.
I think,
The idea is not to have visitors in this parking lot at all. These are all assigned stalls.
They're all assigned,
Yes.
okay. Interesting.
okay. Next on the list was the taller plantings. So if you can go back to those renderings, you asked us to update the renderings to show the taller plantings. Just scroll down to approximately page 38. To update the renderings to show the taller planters on the side, plantings on the side, that has been done. We had indicated last time that there'd be taller plantings, as well as the openings have changed, which is reflected in the CCH report, and the louvers have been added. If you go up one more.
So this shows the taller plantings across the Webb Street access. And
Okay, but that's not the landscape plan. The landscape plan hasn't been updated to show the taller plantings.
That's correct, Mr. Curley. If the board were to approve, would the landscaping and site plans be updated to show to correctly reflect the taller plantings?
yes, they would.
Remind me, are they being planted at that growth, or are they going to be planted and then we'll take them however much time to then grow to that height?
They would be planted at a 6-foot height.
Great, okay, thank you.
Okay. Next on the list was the fence that we were asked to extend. If you could go back to your site plan. This is comment 1.2F. I skipped over D, by the way, because it indicated we had made the revision. 1.2F, the fence has been extended as requested. So just point out where that fence was extended.
So previously, the fence terminated approximately where my cursor is. And I'll zoom just approximately where my cursor is. We extended the fence to the far side of the Kingsley Arms. So it's the north corner of the Kingsley Arms is where our fence will stop.
Right, so that, the purpose of that, if I recall, was to ensure that any cars coming out of the garage would not interfere with the windows of the Kingsley.
That's correct.
Okay.
Right. 1.2G, we were asked to pass out a color sample, which we've done. 1.2F refers to the lighting design and then specifically refers to comments actually in section 6.1. So with that, Mr. Curley, can you talk about some of the revisions you've made to the lighting? And I understand you have an even further updated lighting plan, is that correct?
That's correct.
So
And
we'll mark this as A10. And this is the updated lighting plan.
pass these out. So if I can summarize the comments that were made by both boards' professionals, that there was concern first off of lighting and the access way, the sidewalk that we have on the north side of the south building and the south side of the north building. What we were able to do is we added some two bollard lights, one on each side. And there's a total of 3 bollard lights now, where there were previously 2. So we have those located in these areas, and again, we added 3 bollard lights. Again, there's 3 on each side of both buildings. The other concern had to do with the existing street lighting and the fact that the model that we previously showed had lighting values that were within the building and didn't accurately reflect the light that was illuminating from the light and then getting blocked by the building. So what we ended up doing was I remodeled and utilized a different lighting model that just shows the foot candle values. And I want just so that the board understands the modeling that we utilized. So there's 2 areas where we were having some difficulty trying to get the cutoff with the model that we have and utilized. The lighting files that come with these 2 fixtures, the P fixture, does not accurately reflect a cutoff shield to be added to the light. And as you can see, the light values do spread out onto the adjacent property. This area is a patio area, and then there's air conditioning units out here. What I will guarantee that we will do custom cutoff shield for both of these fixtures, and we'll limit the lighting values so that there's no light shed on the adjacent property. The other item that is not modeled in here is there's an existing 6-foot fence along this property line. Again, I did not model this in the computer run that ran the light values here, but that will also help shield it. But whether there's a fence there or not, I will make a custom shield for these 2 fixtures, and new light values will go onto the adjacent property.
So in short, we can comply with items 6.1 A, B, and C of the CCH report, as well as the lighting comments in the Avakian report. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And that we will agree to revise the modeling accordingly and to reflect the cutoff shields that you just indicated, correct?
That's correct.
Bob, is there, I can't make it out, the change to the Kingsley Arms, is that also coming down? It's too small for me, even with the magnifying glass.
I have it at 0.2 in this area, and this is a shed area. 0.2, 0.1. And this 0.6 is from the light, that's a street light.
And then that fence is only 4 feet high?
That's correct. As we have it proposed now.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Can we just review one more time, like, so what you just provided here, and we already have a lighting plan in our packet that we received. What is the difference between the two, because they are different?
That's correct. We added the additional bollard lights in between the buildings. And we remodeled, I used a different model because the model that we used just had, and you can see there's full circles.
Right.
And you see the circles actually going through the building. So it wasn't accurately analyzing the foot candle values that would have been blocked by the buildings.
Okay. The other question is more of a technical.
Please, if I'm not saying that.
No, it's
I
accurate
just want
for
to make
them.
sure.
Another, just I guess a process question is that it looks like this was created on 4/13/25, which is the same date, this one that you just provided was created on 4/13/25, which is the same date that the rest of the packet was created. So why wasn't that lighting plan included in our packet? Because it wasn't updated.
This last one was
This is
definitely
different.
up, yeah.
I understand it's
Okay.
different, but
They did not.
it's not,
update the
but the
revision.
dates are the
Yeah.
same, so I don't understand.
So I do apologize, there was supposed to be a revision with today's date on this.
We
All
can
right,
mark
then.
for the record that 8/10 should be dated as of today's date.
Today?
Yes.
And I
Okay.
apologize for that. Now, in addition to the modification to the modeling that I did on the lighting, I also added there's a request by the board's professionals to show what type of fence was going to be installed.
Right.
And that fence is now depicted on this plan.
I'm just, I see that there are more and more projects that are just not keeping up with the revision dates, and it's very confusing to us. So-
If I may, I did not sign this. This did come out rather late, and I apologize. Otherwise, my signature would have had today's date on it.
This is something that I guess that I'm showing more to
Right.
you, Jen, to kind of say,
Make sure we have our
we
dates right.
got,
Yeah.
it's happening, and it's not only these applications, it's
Right,
not.
right,
It's
right.
happening across the board.
No, understood.
And it confuses us as we're looking at these and saying,
Right.
well, why, what's different? Why is it different?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
We will,
And
what I will be doing after this hearing is I will give the board secretary the electronic copies, and on this one, if you don't mind, I will put a big note in the corner that says dated as of.
that'd be great. And
May
I would assume that you would do the same with this, that we received, because this does not look familiar to me.
That is new, correct.
So this is new also, and it says 4/28.
So we'll put date in the corner of everything that we are showing you today that was not in
Yes,
the April
please.
package. We'll say dated as of May 19th, 2025.
Thank you.
You may have already said this, the bollard lights, that's down lighting,
That's correct. They're night sky compliant.
so it'll illuminate the sidewalk but won't bother anybody in the buildings.
That's
So,
correct.
great, thank you.
All right.
Is there, give us a detail?
Yes, it's the same detail that we had on the plan previously. We had bollard lights previously, we just didn't add.
The locations.
Well, we added additional lights.
Okay. So I'd like to move then to the CCH letter, section 2.1. There were some comments
Can I
about.
ask one more question about lighting? I'm sorry.
Sure.
I had seen something in one of Donna's previous reports about the exterior lighting fixtures all need to be less than 2,700 kelvins. Was that updated?
Yes,
It was. Okay.
And it definitely will be updated on any final plans.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, section 2.1 of the CCH letter, there were 3 comments about addressing TRC and subsequent developer recommendations. There's a question about retaining walls. Can you clarify what the retaining wall finish will be?
It's a Pyrex material.
Parex,
Sorry.
not an architect.
Pyrex material. It's applied to, it's going to be a masonry block wall, and it'll be applied to the finish, and it'll match the finish of the building.
Then there was a question about alternatives for side street frontages. What has been done with the resubmission to improve the facades on the side of the building?
So in addition to the plantings that we provided and raised the plantings, we added louvers to to the garage area. And again, we have the planted island, we have the taller plants, and then we have the louvers for the parking garage itself.
And then the last one is a subsequent developer agreement, requires a construction mitigation plan to address dust reduction. Now, you had already put soil erosion and sediment control notes on the plans, is that correct?
That's correct.
And I believe you conferred with the board's engineer today about maybe one additional note to add to that
Right, I
plan.
can add it to the cover sheet and also to the soil erosion sheet, that if any soil is going to be stockpiled more than 2 days, it'll be covered with tarp or removed.
Okay.
Just before we continue on that one that we just spoke about, the 2.1, where we're saying the alternatives for the side street frontages, what it states here was that it was unchanged from the prior version. So does that mean that, I know that you just explained, but where is it? And where's it going to be, as opposed to Mr. Curley's word?
Sure, so on the...
Where should we put it? Is it somewhere?
Yes, so on the submitted plans, so you just have to scroll to the renderings. This is about the plantings and the changes themselves, 2.1. It's in this package, but just further down to get to the architecturals.
So this shows the view that I believe is going to be most prominent to look at. Again, we have added additional landscaping. We made it taller. We provided the louvers for the garage area, and excuse me.
No,
That pretty much blocks or allows for a softer view of this side of the building.
and then that's also the case on the side of the other building, right?
That's
You can
correct.
scroll up a few pages that shows that angle.
Are the louvers decorative or are they actually ventilate open into the?
They are open. They're for the ventilation.
There you go.
And again, we have the taller plants along here with the louvers.
So I think the second part of that 2.1 about the retaining walls, on the revised architectural plans, there's a note for the trapezoid stair thing. They actually specified the finish as sand float. But on the other sheets that call out the color and materials on the building facades, it doesn't say what the finish is. So it should also say sand float for the finish.
Okay, that can be updated.
Yeah.
Right, so those were all the comments from the, oh, no, sorry, two more. 3.4, roof screening. And this takes us to one of the exhibits that we just had up. There was a comment in 3.4 of the CCH report for a request to add some screening to the rooftop mechanicals where they're adjacent to the neighboring buildings. There were two areas circled specifically in a diagram provided in 3.4. And so, Mr. Curley, you previously introduced Exhibit A9, which was roof screening and drainage. I think the first page of that shows a screening mechanism, is that correct?
That's correct.
Can you just describe what we're looking at here?
It's a louvered system, gets mounted directly to the roof, is elevated approximately 18 inches, and then overall height is about 7 foot forward.
And that will help provide some visual screening for the rooftop mechanicals, and those screens would be placed in the locations closest to the adjacent buildings,
That's
correct?
correct.
Finally, in the...
I got a question on that. The ladder in the corner here, is that just step over so you can get into the mechanical space?
That's correct.
Okay. And so it's not raised on the other side of this, or is the bottom raised?
The bottom is raised for actually, the cross-section. I'll zoom in on this. The cross-sectional view shows, there. The cross-sectional view shows the cross member that holds the louver system. So it is elevated off the ground just a bit,
Okay.
which is, it's about 5 feet tall, but the total height is 87.5 inches.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question too. On the rendering, it shows 3 sides with the louvers. Is the 4th side the building itself?
I believe the 4th side actually faces out towards the rest of the interior of the roof and away from the other adjacent buildings, correct?
And this shows the plan view graphic shows the location of where the screening will be.
So in some locations, they're just one-sided.
Right.
In some locations, they're two-sided.
That's correct.
Okay.
So I'm going to jump us back to 2.1 for 1 second, just about the retaining walls. Donna, was there something about we needed to include limestone caps?
And
Oh.
that will
Will
be.
you?
Did you already talk
It's right
about
here.
it?
No, we,
I'm sorry, I'm going.
No,
down.
we haven't
You've got this so well organized, I'm sorry.
We haven't gotten to 4.3 yet.
Sorry.
but we can skip ahead to that
No,
and
no, we don't have
indicate.
to, I'm sorry, I
we
knew
can
it
keep
was
going.
somewhere, I
It's-
just didn't want to lose it.
It's an easy answer. Mr. Curley, will the applicant agree to limestone caps?
Yes.
There you go. Good. Okay, so we've talked about the roof screening.
All right, but wait, I'm trying to see the roof screen. 60 on center, okay, and then that's flush. And I think we had testimony last time about this, but are the HVAC units themselves elevated on a little vibratory cushion or something, or are they
I
just on
believe
like a
they are on a
pad?
maintenance pad, but
Yeah,
other than that,
So the screening won't be higher than the bottom of the unit? We're not going to want the screening panels to be higher than the bottom of the unit.
Meaning you don't want to see
You
them.
want to see the bottom of the unit.
Well, there's also a
Yeah.
wall around the roof line, correct?
right, there's a parapet around the entire perimeter.
No, I see what you mean.
Well, you'd have to be like, if you're looking from the height of a 5 or 6 foot person, you can't see under.
Right, but you're also,
From the building,
From the
directly
other
across
buildings.
from it, at the same elevation,
Oh, yeah, okay.
or above, or slightly below, I don't know. I think it's also part of the sound effect.
that those, right, you should not be able to see the units beneath.
So there's testimony previously about the parapet walls too, that are also screening. This just provides some additional backup screening. But I'm sure we could work through the exact
Right, 'cause
dimensions.
it's only because over here you could see that it's a foot or two
It's,
up.
Right, but
in
you'd have
this
to be-
particular,
You'd have to be standing on the roof.
right, to see that.
Right. This would be, there'd be the parapet wall, and then these would be set back, and then it would have the additional screening. We hope no one's climbing around on the roof. Okay. Last one for the CCH letter, and then we'll move to the Avakian letter. Utilities. There was a question, we had previously testified about where the utility meters would be located. This is in 7.2. And there was a question about whether we're sure that those are the right locations and whether they would fit there, particularly with setbacks to windows. And so, Mr. Curley, if you want to mark this one as A11, we'll call this the North Building, we'll call it the meters location exhibit. Location exhibit. And can you just describe what this is? I'll pass that around.
yes, this is an elevation view that shows the electric and gas meters that would be applied to the outside portion of the building. I'm going to just zoom on this just a little bit. There was also a concern on whether or not they were up out of the flood hazard elevation. Flood hazard elevation for this property is elevation 10. Is at elevation 10. The lowest ground elevation immediately adjacent to both of the meters is around elevation 13, maybe a little bit higher, 13.2. So I know it's in the shadow of the building, but you can see the electric meters and the gas meters shown here. And this is on the north building. Here's the garage door entrance, and it's the south of the garage door.
So they'll fit on the wall where we had indicated they would go, and they're outside of the flood hazard area, right?
That's correct.
Okay, or above the flood
So the-
elevation.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Bob.
And then on the south building, we have gas meters and electric meters actually on a corner. So this shows again, the garage door, and then the electric meters, and then around the corner on this view, the garage door entrance would be on the right-hand side of the exhibit. You can see the gas meters under their displays.
So New Jersey Natural Gas isn't going to consider the garage openings as windows?
No.
So that was it for the CCH letter. We do have a handful of things to address.
I have a couple more that
Sure.
we should hit while we're there. 4.4, where on streetscape, it says neither the site plan nor the landscape plan show the street trees. Is that going to be changed?
So the street trees will be done in accordance with the infrastructure component report.
All right, so that's part of the master
Developer.
Okay.
They'll do the street trees.
Then, let me just look. Also, how about on 6.1 under C? I'm assuming that's probably mentioned for all of A, B, and C, I'm guessing.
The lighting, yes.
lighting.
The bolded part under there, yes.
Yes.
We will agree that the lighting plan has been revised and will be further revised in connection with Mr. Curley's
It'll be further
testimony.
revised for this.
Correct.
Okay? I guess that we'll deal with refuse and later, I guess, because it says that we don't know if there's sufficient refuse here, 7.1?
I thought that, frankly, that we had testimony on that from the architect. who
Okay, so
just-
it hasn't happened yet.
No, I think at the last meeting, there was
We're okay?
testimony about the trash rooms and how it would go, from each floor down to the rooms that are shown on the floor
All right,
plans.
so we've determined that there's sufficient?
That is what our architect determined or testified
Okay.
to.
All righty. What else? All right, one other thing about I know that we had spoken about that in the very beginning about the garage, and you said it was metal. Is there, over here it appeared as though they were like windows. Is it glass? Is it,
I'll have
what
Mr.
is it?
Curley go to that page. It's the very last page. There you go. Oh, scroll up. There we go. So I believe it is a wire mesh, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. To allow for sort of light and air.
So it has like
to
a
go through.
frame to make it look like panels, window panels. Okay.
As long as there's no view into it from the streets, so the public
There's no.
they're not going to see the lights, then okay.
The garage doors exit onto the interior, and this is one of the areas where we added that extra fencing so that
Right. so
Mr.
that
Curley
would be
testified
protected.
would be blocking lights.
And also the stairwells, I think that we had spoken about that also, about the stairwells, that to make sure that things are shielded so they are not visible to the street, directly visible. So that we're not having the lights that
right.
that's walking across the street.
We had a condition that emergency stairs would be on a motion
Emergency
sensor.
stairs inside the building.
So we're gonna have
Motion
that.
sensor.
Yeah, okay.
Is that already in, or do I need to make that?
No, we're gonna add
It's a
that.
condition.
We're gonna add that, because we're keeping track of the conditions as we go, so.
I just had a question too. I lost track with the last version. I apologize, but the planting, the taller plantings that were added, I think on the website, what are those? They look like I don't know if they're drawing this.
Are we having a landscape architect or no?
He was here at the last meeting. We didn't intend to bring him back.
Okay.
But I know that he had previously testified as to what they were going to be, and that has not
It
changed.
didn't change. Oh, I thought there was one that said it was gonna be taller or something. Oh, we just didn't see them last time.
Correct. Right.
Okay.
On the renderings.
Right,
Because
so
the,
that,
so I can look back at the one from last to see, because it's different on one side than the other. I mean, it looks like arborvitae or something on one side.
Yeah, because then that has to be updated because we just spoke about changes in landscaping today. So are we going to get a new landscape plan?
so the renderings have been updated.
Right.
And we indicated that if the board were to approve this, that as a condition of approval, all of the plans would be
All the
made
plans will
consistent.
be brought
Correct.
into sync. Okay.
Correct, and the landscaping plan would absolutely be updated
Okay.
to reflect the specificity on the side there.
Okay.
I want to talk about landscaping. I have one that it's a weird one. So I know there's on the south, how do I say this? The trapezoids, you guys redid them, and I think they look really nice now. On the north building, that trapezoid, the entrance of the building is really obscured by these two trees. And I know the city council wanted these two trees between what we were calling the trapezoid and the sidewalk. And I guess my question for you guys is did the city specify exactly where those trees had to be? Or could they, on the south building, there's trees, but they're outside the little stairwells. On the north building, they're inside the stairwells. And so you block the entrance to the building on the north side. If those trees could move out on the north building, you wouldn't block the obscure the view of the entrance.
So I will tell you, those two trees are in the right-of-way. And the
Right.
location was specifically approved as part of the subsequent developer agreement. So I would hesitate to offer up moving them.
I thought
The
that's
city
what you were gonna
has already approved their location. And they are within the right-of-way, and that was approved.
The only reason I bring it up is because you made the entrances look so nice and then it kind of cover it up, so.
No,
But I also love that there's extra
understood.
trees, so.
Yeah. Those two in
Gotcha.
particular, we don't have as much, we can't just say we're going to move them because that was part of the approved agreement.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
To go back to the utility meters. Is there any way to shield them? And I know you need access to them, the utility companies need access to them. I just ask that because where I live at the Cove, I mean, it's a very attractive development, which is one of the reasons I purchased there. But on each building, each of the three buildings, there are these exposed meters and they're not attractive. So I just wanted to see if there's any way that they could be shielded.
One of the considerations for the placement of the meters where they were physically located was so that they wouldn't be necessarily seen at the street level. So if a pedestrian was walking past, they wouldn't see it. Obviously, the homeowners that live in the development, they're going to be seeing them on a daily basis. As far as trying to cover them up, maybe there's a little bit of leeway with the electric meters, but with the gas meters, they do not want them covered at all.
Okay, I just thought I would ask.
But on this project in particular, Mr. Curley, you chose locations specifically interior to the site because we've learned
So
over
that the
time.
public doesn't.
Right, so, okay.
Thanks.
So we'll just move to the Avakian report. There were only a handful of items I wanted to touch upon here. We'll start with number 6 on page 5 under grading. So Mr. Curley, there was just one comment, and we always like to say that we can comply with everything, but when we can't, we can't. And we just want to put it on the record so there's no confusion later. Number 6, there was a recommendation, and normally a good one, that the retaining walls be set back 1 foot off the right-of-way to make sure there was no encroachment. In this case, under the subsequent developer agreement and in the council process, we were asked to move the buildings all the way up to make as much space as possible between the existing buildings and new buildings. So those have been purposely pushed there. So, Mr. Curley, is it your testimony that we cannot comply with number 6?
That's correct.
Okay. And then the only other item, because some of the comments, a lot of them overlap, like for example, all the exterior lighting comments from 16 to 23, Mr. Curley, we can comply with any of those comments to the extent they have not already been addressed.
That's correct.
Okay. So the last one on item 9 on page 6.
And I'll jump in there. So Barbara, you actually mentioned it, and this was my fault. I kept it in here, I didn't review it. So in the waterfront redevelopment area, that space is for vacant lots, so that's my apologies for not taking it out. That shouldn't be in there for 9 feet. So you're supposed to have 9 by 18 for vacant lots. I did check after we spoke.
Oh,
I just
sorry.
didn't clarify that, so my apologies.
Okay. I think that was it. I think we've either addressed everything
If you want,
previously.
just, I mean, a favor for y'all, if they did add Filterra boxes, Bob, you want to explain that to the board, and then for green infrastructure.
I will add, we did receive a comment from the DEP last week that they have completed engineering review. So we, with no further comments, so we do expect to get the DEP compliance letter in the near term, although we don't quite have it yet.
And while Bob's looking it up, they didn't have to provide, but as a being good neighbors.
So we appreciate that.
So we were able to add the 2 Filterra green infrastructure stormwater management systems located immediately adjacent to the stormwater management system, just to the south of the north building, likewise on the adjacent driveway on the way out. So again, that picks up all of the drainage for this parking lot, runs it through it's a tree well with biomedia in it, and then discharges into the stormwater management system and then out. So that cleans the water before it gets into the stormwater management system.
Okay. So those are all the questions that I had for Mr. Curley as a way to bring everyone up to speed on the changes that were proposed and any additional changes. I know obviously we'll open it to the public just as a preview. We just have one more witness after this, and that's Mr. Barry, our planner.
All right, who would we talk to about the on-grade parking? Mr. Curley?
Yeah, the parking? Yes, Mr. Curley.
Okay, on number 9, on-grade parking, in the Avakian report, I see that there's the parallel parking stalls are 7 feet wide. Not that wide, not too wide.
So actually,
Is there anything we can do about that?
well, I believe
Because
in
that
the,
seems a
I
little
would say,
short.
what's the width of the drive aisle adjacent to those spaces? Do we know?
I will say under even though it doesn't apply, because we're in the waterfront redevelopment, the zoning code in Asbury Park does allow for parallel spaces to be 7 by 22. So I think the size that's proposed for the parallel spaces is the size that it's permitted by the zoning code, even though the zoning code does not apply in this instance.
The drive aisle is 18 feet in width, and it's a one-way circulation.
That's also the drive aisle we're going to have.
It's not on,
That's
it's not on both sides.
That's where,
On one
that's
side,
immediately adjacent to
so
the
it's narrow.
parallel stalls.
but
In the
it's-
area where we have 90-degree parking, the drive aisle is 24 feet wide, 24 feet in width, excuse me.
All right, since it's going one way, okay.
So you're probably going to the floating side, which would be 16 or 15, which is still wide enough.
Okay. Is this it for the witness?
That's it for the witness, unless
All right,
there's,
anything else from the planning board members? Any other questions from the planning board members of this witness? Any questions from our professionals? Are they satisfied with the answers to their reports by this witness? We'll open it up to the public. If the public has any questions of this witness, please come up now. This would be the time for anything that was testified to today. Okay, let's go. Next.
all right. Our last and final witness, or next and final witness, is Mr. Barry, who is our professional planner.
Good evening.
Hello, John. Please raise your right hand when you're ready. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Is your licensed practice plan in the state of New Jersey current?
It is, yes.
Full force and effect?
Yes.
Mr. Barry's appeared before us on many occasions, so
Okay,
I
thank you.
suggest he waive his.
Okay.
Thank you. And we are offering Mr. Barry, obviously, as an expert in the field of professional planning. So, Mr. Barry, you've been here for the testimony this evening and for the testimony on April 7th, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
All right. So if you could provide us with just a little bit of a background about the location for the site and the project, and then I will ask you to address the design exceptions that have been requested.
Sure. We're all very familiar with the project at this point, I think, so I won't spend too much time on this, but this is a photo exhibit with an aerial image and 8 photographs that I took back in April of last year, showing the conditions of the site at that time. Some of the material has come and gone, but generally speaking, it's what it looks like today.
Just to pause for a moment, we did submit this previously, Jack. Do you want me to mark it as A12?
Well, we could do that, or what was it previously referenced as?
We had submitted it with the application.
Let's make it A12.
Okay.
Sure.
And so we'll call this the photo exhibit.
Sure.
I'm sorry, Mr. Barry, please
No problem.
continue.
So just working around counterclockwise from the northwest corner of the site with the numbered viewpoints here, we have a view of the west side of the Kingsley Arms building, a view of the north side of the Miramar, a view of the front of the Miramar from Webb Street, a view of the south side of the Miramar, and then a few shots from within the site of the east side and of Miramar and south side of Kingsley Arms, and then a shot of the corner of Kingsley Arms. So you can see the context of the surrounding buildings, which in our oddly shaped development site running through the middle of the property. Some additional photographs give some context of other surrounding buildings, just some of the architectural style of the buildings in the neighborhood, both a variety of ages, over the last 80 or 90 years, really. We've had a few different projects that make up the neighbors. The other exhibit that I prepared.
We'll mark this one as A13.
A13, okay. And this is a massing model meant to show the full build out of the site as what's permitted under the waterfront redevelopment plan. So the plan permits 8 stories on the 8th Avenue and Kingsley Street side of the block and 6 stories on the Deal Lake and Webb Street quadrant of the block. And so the existing buildings are roughly modeled in here for context to show what full build out of the block would look like. The next view shows a rough view of what the proposed buildings look like modeled at their 53.5-foot height relative to their neighbors. And then boxed in with the shadow here shows that full build out again, the relative reduction in what the full massing could be with what's proposed versus what's permitted. And then just to spin it around, we have the same view from the Deal Lake Drive and Webb Street side, the contextual view with the neighboring buildings and the shadowed massing. Okay, so we've heard a lot about all the different details of the project. There's a lot of what I would characterize as groups of different relief that we're seeking here. The waterfront redevelopment plan, as the board is well aware, has some very specific standards. Starting with things related to the architecture of the buildings, we have 4 items related to balconies. There's a requirement that balconies be masonry or wood. Wood or metal, and we have masonry balconies with metal railings, so it's a more durable material, doesn't really detract in any way from the aesthetics of the building, and in fact the masonry finish is consistent with the remainder of the building's design. There's also a requirement that the balconies not exceed 3 feet in depth. We had a conversation about the relative merits of different styles of balconies during the architecture testimony. In this case, the depth is granted by the inset of the building, so they are more than 3 feet of usable space, but they're not projecting from the building face more than 3 feet. So it's providing a usable exterior space, which is certainly an amenity that would be expected in modern development such as this. The next category under balconies are that we have multiple balconies. The plan calls for a single wrapped balcony when they are provided. In this case, that would certainly interfere with the architecture and the push and pull that we get on the facade with the bays if there were a single balcony. So the breakup of the balconies, both in form and function, lends themselves to the building. And then finally, with balconies, there's a requirement that they not be visible if there are multiple balconies, so they permitted only on rear and side elevations. In this case, we have them wrapping around the building as there are units on all sides with different facade exposures. So for their function, the balconies are necessary on all sides of the building. And again, they fit in with the architecture that we're proposing. Next, we have two items related to doors. The doors under the plan are required to be painted wood or composite wood, including garage doors. So you saw the design with the metal frame and the mesh for the proposed garage door. And then we have metal and glass doors elsewhere on the buildings, the typical exterior doors that you would see in residential developments. And there's also a prohibition on sliding doors with the balcony design, and while the apartments are a decent size, there's still spaces at a premium. So having a sliding door gives you more flexible, usable space and has no visual difference from the street for passersby. The next four items are related to windows. We have windows that are fixed, really only small number of the windows that are fixed, not operable. The majority of the windows on the facade, bring up the So the larger windows that you see are operable casement windows, and then the smaller accent windows are the fixed ones. So an intentional design choice here, and if these were operable, they really wouldn't be practical. The windows are flush to the surface of the building. They're not supposed to be. You heard testimony from the architect about some of the practicalities with modern energy code, modern building materials. There are advantages to having those windows be flush, and so that's the style that's being proposed. Certainly doesn't detract from the aesthetic. And then we don't have windowsills, which are required. A similar reasoning behind the material options that we have available and are choosing to use with this project. That concludes windows. So next we have some conditions related to the building base and placement, and we've had a lot of conversation about how the base of the building is being treated, how the building is related to the street frontages. The plan talks about having articulation and a meaningful relationship to the corner of the block and emphasizing entrances. Certainly with the front, we have an entrance that's being emphasized. We've had a positive redesign of the trapezoidal area at the base of the stairs to both add architectural interest and landscaping to soften it. So that was certainly in response to good commentary from the board, and I think has enhanced that frontage significantly. Throughout the design process, we had technical review meetings. We've had a number of iterative designs of this building. The original, or one of the earlier designs, had a cutout here at the corner to try to bring more of a focus into the corner in response to those standards. We had some back and forth and some good critique of that design, and it was determined that it would be better off to carry the walls and the planting designs around the corner rather than have that cutout. So we're doing the best we can with the limitations of the site and the realities of providing parking and flood hazard area design regulations to accommodate both an architectural wall that matches the building, the landscaping that helps to soften the masonry, helps screen the garage somewhat. So we're incorporating all of these elements as we've gotten the feedback, and I think the design has evolved well. Similarly, there's a conversation about the disconnect between the street frontage, and there's a reference to streets that require pedestrian continuity, having design and programming of a base that relates to pedestrian space. In this case, we're in more of a residential part of the city. Certainly we want to create a comfortable pedestrian environment, but it's less of an emphasis in this. The term pedestrian continuity is not something I can find defined in the plan. I know there are streets that require and recommend retail frontages. This is not one of those. This is a residential quarter of the city, more or less. And the enhancements to the streetscape will shield the garage, shield the base of the building as they're intended to do. And the other master developer improvements in the right-of-way will enhance the pedestrian experience. So on the balance, I think we've done what we are able there. And then, let's see, last we have two related to the roofs. We have a requirement that all rooftop appurtenances be,
Obscured by parapet.
obscured by parapets. I can't read my writing here, notes. We do have the parapet wall around the perimeter, as we discussed with the screening. There is a stair tower and elevator overrun back there somewhere, which you can't see from this rendered view, nor from the head-on view. So the screening that we've enhanced with the rooftop mechanical equipment so that we can help screen some of the views from above is to the benefit of the project. And additional modifications to the stair tower wouldn't really bring us anywhere closer to achieving any kind of visual character from the street because they wouldn't be visible. So we need that relief, but I think we've balanced it well with what's been proposed with the additional screening. We have one related to signage. The proposed illumination method is a backlit LED light, so it's an exterior illumination. I mean, it's considered an interior illumination because it's backlit. It's not a glowing letter, it's not a light box or anything like that. It's a soft halo kind of light. I don't think it detracts from the project at all. I think the design mixed in with the material shifts in the inset here along with the landscaping actually probably create a better aesthetic than if you had an external light that would end up getting blocked by landscaping as it grows and evolves. So I think it's a relief's needed, but I think it is a better alternative for this design.
And I think there was just one waiver related to parking having to do with the planting islands in the surface parking area.
Yeah, so the plan, when there are parking lots of 20 or more spaces, require that there be planted islands. Now we basically have this cut-through driveway that has a few parking areas. These are a collective parking area of 16 spaces. We have a few parallel spaces, total of 22 through the middle of the site. So technically it may apply. There's very limited space available. There are these two striped islands, but they're needed to maintain the grading and drainage patterns, I believe, and also give some flexibility in maneuvering through the lot. So it would be impractical to add any additional landscaping through what's essentially an active drive area.
That is it. So the standard for granting these waivers, if you could just explain that briefly, and in your professional opinion,
Sure.
have we met the standard?
Yeah, so these are design exceptions for the redevelopment plan. We're looking at practical considerations. We're looking at if the site can continue to, can appropriately function as designed. We've had, a lot of these items have been discussed by the other design professionals. They've been modified. We've been kind of constantly tweaking throughout, leading up to the hearing and throughout the hearings. And I think we've come out with a good set of compromises. And ultimately, certainly the relief is relatively minor in the scheme of the overall project. I think the design, the architecture, and the engineering that you've heard about will bring a good product to the site, to the city, and there'll be no substantial detriment. We've gone to great lengths to ensure that the lighting, the drainage, the various aspects of the project are being managed so that the neighboring buildings can accommodate the new development as best they can.
Thank you, Mr. Barry. I have no further questions for Mr. Barry.
I just wanted to mention that, I don't know if we can bring this into as an exhibit that was put together, of what is essentially what you just read off.
Yeah.
Jack, can we do that as an exhibit?
Sure, you want to submit that?
Please.
It was with the submission package on April 28th, but we can separately mark it.
Testified from it, let's make
Please.
that A13.
A13, and so that would be the multi-page
Thanks, Paul.
list of relief that was part of the April 28th submission.
And-
A13 is the mass model,
Oh, I'm sorry, then A14.
And I'd also like to mention that I appreciate that you did this, because it's a lot easier for us to read through it, understand what you're saying, and it's all visible right here. It makes it a lot easier. Thank
It's
you.
a good note to remember.
It was I appreciate that very much.
Excellent, thank you.
Do we have any other questions of this witness by the planning board members?
I have a
I've got a
question.
question of Donna.
Go ahead.
Don, you see this report, obviously, and you heard the testimony. Are you satisfied with the responses that have been made in accordance with the design exceptions?
Yeah,
Do you take any exception?
I do not. There's tension between what is in the SDA about the design of the project. And they have mitigated some of the concerns, some of the, not quite fully conforming aspects of those design guidelines. And so, yeah, I'm satisfied with the testimony.
Any thoughts as to what could be done better to sort of modify the approval of design exceptions? Make any suggestions?
I would not.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just have I know this has already been discussed previously, but there's comment number 12, which talks about, or on the exhibit that we're talking about right now, about that corner, how it says there previously was a seating area and then CCH asked it to be removed. That I don't know if that was testimony from the last meeting or earlier in design, TRC.
That was in the TRC.
Yeah.
Is it possible to just talk about that a little bit? I mean, I realize that ship has sailed, but I'm trying to understand that back and what happened in that conversation.
That was Michael's recommendation, and I disagreed with it, and ultimately, the governing body, chose this design.
So his argument was that, or he had a, does anyone remember what his issue was with
I was there, I could summarize it generally. Not to speak for him wholly, but there was a cutout area at the corner that the design had proposed with some small seating area, right, kind of at both corners of the project. And I think the concern was that it wouldn't be a terribly functional area and might just become kind of a dumping ground of sorts, and that extending the landscaping around would create more of a usable space along the two entrance sides of the building, both kind of aesthetically pleasing because it would create symmetry along that side of the building, and then also be able to extend a little bit of the kind of front entryway elements along those sides. So it was really trying to prioritize the entrance facing sides of the building and keeping the corner squared off rather than trying to pinch in and cram the entrance stuff with the corner open. I think that was the trade-off, and I think that, as Donna said, that was Michael's request of us at the time.
So it was like
Yeah, there were also these concerns about public versus private space in front of the buildings, and because I had pointed out up the street, and even directly adjacent, there's front yards in front of the buildings, and they're just lawns at the Miramar and at Kingsley Arms, and even as you go up Deal Lake Drive. So there's, are you trying to, carry that neighborhood character up the street and down the street, or are we doing something different here? And so, is that plaza more of a public seating area? Is it restricted private? Do the walls give you that enclosure and separation as opposed to the more, casual, just a front yard?
I see. I appreciate that, because I obviously wasn't there for, I didn't understand the backstory, because that was my first thing when I saw the project, is why there wasn't a cutout on those corners, but then I saw that.
And then, of course, on Deal Lake Drive, the right-of-way curves.
Yeah.
So it's, not on the property, it's in the right-of-way.
Right.
That we get that sort of, no man's land there.
I appreciate that. And I had one other that was, it's gone. I forgot, sorry.
It's brilliant, though.
I'm sure
Yeah,
it
Jen, this
was
is one of the
brilliant.
reasons I'm so glad the city allows us to do the curve extensions now. Because now every corner where they exist, it almost is like a little, what's the word, oasis of greenery and open space. So even though there's not the cut into the corner, there's still something public at that corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, I was responding in part to what you said about it being a residential, more, there was no need for retail, it was different areas, very residential, but still that streetscape is really important, obviously, for, it's heavily used and the pedestrian experience is really important, not just for the people that live there, of course, but it's just like a main thoroughfare to the beach. So like that character is really, I think it's important, and I think you all work hard to make it work. It's a tough site.
Yeah, sorry, thinking about it, like on some of the other outside of the waterfront areas, when we've had these, redevelopment type projects across the street, down the block, and we've taken into consideration how pedestrian volumes increase as you're reaching some destination, and the waterfront being the destination in this case, we probably would have recommended a wider sidewalk, right, at the west end of this block than at the east, instead of more west, to accommodate that. And that might have also played into what happens with the width of the right of way here. But the infrastructure control plan controls that, so.
It wasn't much. I don't know, thank you, I appreciate it.
Any other questions of the witness by our professionals? Are you satisfied with what was discussed? Any questions from the public about the testimony? Okay. Any other witnesses?
Mr. Barrett was our last witness, and since tonight was largely a summary of the project to begin with, I won't belabor it by putting together a closing statement, but we do thank you for your time and consideration on this project.
All right.
Public comment?
Yes. Can I get a motion to open for public comment?
So moved. Second?
Anyone from the public that would like to make any comments?
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor? Close.
Okay. You want me to start, or you want to do it, or what?
I can tell you what I have.
Tell me what you have, and
All
we'll
right.
see how that goes.
There's a whole list of usual WRA conditions which would go in this resolution as well as others. I'm going to just touch on some points and that are going to be further developed with discussions between board members and Donna and myself and Sam and myself. Okay. Revisions to the plan to include the planters referenced in the CCH current report at page 1.2b, whatever that says. That was a specific item. The plant selection, as per Jen Sauter's comment and Jennifer Smith's response, is open to discussion as to the selection process. I don't know how you want to handle that, but I have it that I guess I could put in something that says the applicant will discuss that with planner.
It could be, through Donna, if that works. I mean, I don't know how it works either, but if it's okay with Donna. It's really pretty minor adjustments discussion.
Yeah, okay, so I can make that with Donna. That standard pre-construction meetings with James to develop the whole process, the construction process. And so far as that dust mitigation issue, which didn't seem to be a problem, soil stockpiling issue, I'll check with Sam on that to get his comment on what I should say about that. Revisions to the landscape plans to show the taller plantings and the foundation planters. That was discussed this evening. Custom cutoff shields on the patio area lights. I believe there were 2 as per Rob's testimony. That would be in the patio parking area.
By patio parking, you're talking about the drive aisle?
Next to the Miramar.
Next to Miramar. Okay. There were 2 of them that would certainly be custom designed to exclude any light spillage onto contiguous property. There was something about updating the plans to sand color, sand finish or something or other towards the end.
The finish of the foundation and the stucco, I'll get it with you, but yeah,
Okay,
it's.
okay, I got what we got, okay. Limestone caps on the retaining walls, is that correct on the plans?
Yeah, limestone cap, yes.
Okay, lighting plan revisions, I'll check with Donna again and Sam, as represented by Bob on the record. Add light sensor, like motion activated light sensors in the stairwells.
Yes.
That's one that has to be done. Essentially, whatever plans have to be revised to be consistent with the representations made this evening, and the new exhibits put in will be submitted, and we'll develop that language for that. And report compliance with any outstanding conditions set forth in the reports, with the exception of the May 13th Avakian report on page 5, grading number 6 comment cannot comply with that recommendation. That's based on the council requirements where the building is to be located. That's essentially what I have.
All right, there's an area about the updating of the colors of the gutters that we've been told what they are. I just want to make sure that when someone is doing the inspections, they'll never know. So it's like, where can we have someplace that tells us the colors of the gutters? We need all the dates to be modified, updated on all the presentations, to be current, to be what they should be. Let's say that.
Correct revision dates.
There was one place, and I don't know if that's what you mentioned, about a Parex material. Was that the one that Jack just mentioned? It's on.
About the finish, yes.
Yeah, that's there? Okay. I don't know how we would state that we need the landscape plan updated. It's pretty much, that's what we need.
Well, that's part of.
Because we don't really,
It has to be revised.
it has to be totally
That's
revised.
part of this catch-all where I'm going to talk to Donna and Sam about the plans to be revised to be consistent with the representations.
Right, and
That includes that, the gutter colors, whatever else, rather than go another 10 or 15
No, you're right.
comments, I'll
They have-
encapsulate that in one.
Sorry? The downspouts, yeah, that's what, that was the gutters, yes, the
Yeah.
downspouts. Yes, there's quite a bit that has to be done with the site and the architectural plans to sync them up.
Yeah, I'll talk.
So that has to be, there's a lot of that has to be taken care of. Pretty much to take care of what, in the CCH report of 1.2 A through H, it's pretty much that.
Yeah, a lot of them were
A lot of
already.
that, where a lot of them were in there.
Yeah, I have
Okay.
already accomplished.
All right, we
a
got
lot of
that,
things.
that. We also mentioned that the wheel, I don't know if we have that down already, we mentioned wheel stops in the garage, in the actual garage area, we mentioned that last time, I thought,
Yes.
because that's something that Yvonne always,
Is that in the plans already? Yes. All right, so you don't, it's
so
already
it's
there.
internal,
Yeah, then
it's on the
it's
internal
in the
ones.
plans submitted.
okay,
Okay.
all right. We'd also mentioned about, we had a discussion in the last meeting about the condensers being away from outdoor space as much as we can within reason. That, as always, the HVAC systems to make sure that they are as far away from public spaces as possible.
Is that depicted on the current plans? that were
We
submitted?
didn't get a new plan. So I don't know if that was decided or not.
The condensers are shown on the roof plan now.
Yeah.
Oh, they're the new plan?
Yes.
Oh,
Which is why they gave us the exhibit tonight for the screening.
I saw the screening.
Because we picked up on, you have condensers too close
Yes,
to this
so
building.
that'll help.
Okay.
That'll definitely help, okay.
Shows where they are.
Okay.
That's where they're
All right, those are the items I had. But there is something just keeps gnawing at me, what you're saying. And it's like, I don't know how we can do this. And it has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now as far as the resolution and everything. Those two trees are in the wrong spot. And it's not something that you've done, it's not something it's like, who can we talk to? Do we talk to the council? Because they're not planted, they're not there, and if we plant them where they want us to plant them, they're not in the right spot. Is that something Who do we, can we just talk to the council about that?
Agency, which is the council.
You're gonna talk to council, and they're gonna have to talk to the master developer.
Okay. Okay.
And God only knows what
I
it's
mean, I feel like that's something we can make not as a condition,
No,
but
it's
as a request.
No, it is not a condition.
But
It
it's
is not a
No, we
condition.
can't.
It's not even necessarily part of this development, right? Because it's
No,
not.
it's not.
It's not on your
No.
land.
They can't do anything about it. It has to be,
No,
this board
you're
would have
right.
to talk to the city council.
After this meeting, we can go talk to Jed and David.
We can't.
No, it's not,
No, I understand
We
where you're
understand
coming from.
that.
I get it.
but it's just not right. And it's just, it's not there.
Or can we make a condition, if these trees move, you don't have to come back to the planning board or something like that? I don't want you to come back.
No.
You gotta move.
Right.
Something might happen during construction. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
I'm with you,
I didn't hear
Barbara.
that.
You built a beautiful
Not on
entrance.
TV either.
Yeah, it's a beautiful entrance and then you have two trees in the middle of it. Okay. All
The only
right.
other condition I had was an architectural plaque.
Wasn't that already addressed?
Oh, you mentioned it.
Plaque.
As a condition, we'll add it.
Yes.
It hasn't been added yet, but we would agree to add it.
Yeah, it's already, they've agreed to it.
Okay. Anything else from the planning board members that we may have missed?
I just have a comment. I really like this development. I think aesthetically, it provides something new and interesting to the waterfront. And I know you guys did a lot of playing around with the massing of this building. It's not as big as it could be. You moved it around to really be considerate of the buildings around it. I just want to say, I personally think this building adds a lot to the waterfront.
I'd like to make a comment as well.
Go ahead.
I live a block and a half from the site. I walk by at least once a day, multiple times a day. So I've been very focused on this application. I really appreciate the changes you guys made from the last meeting and the entrance. I think that's significantly meaningful for those of us who live in the area, have to see it every day. I think it looks like a very attractive project. I'm very excited about it. So appreciate the thought given to it. I echo all the comments of my colleagues about the mapping and all that, and appreciate the changes that you made and kind of being responsive to this board and the comments that we shared with you.
I just have one small minor
Go
comment
ahead.
that I definitely appreciate the addition of the filter, that those are in there. I think all that we can do to get, the water, like any green infrastructure that helps with the cleaning and the this is not reduction, but it's just such an issue, especially in that part of the whole city. So
Right.
I think
And
it's
I mean,
helpful.
we understand you didn't have to and we appreciate that you did. All right, can I get a motion to approve with the conditions we mentioned?
So moved.
I'll second.
James Bonanno,
Yes.
Jim Henry,
Yes.
Jeremy Hoffman,
Yes.
Jen Souter.
Yes.
Daniel Shinameo is not eligible to vote on this one.
Accused.
Uh,
He's abstaining.
Abstaining. Bob Zuckerman,
Yes.
Kathy McLaughlin,
Yes.
Vice Chair Goonan,
Yes.
Chairwoman Kurzak.
Yes.
I'm laughing at Mike. He's very excited about his yes. Okay, approved.
Thank you very much. We appreciate everyone's time.
Okay.
Motion to
Are
adjourn.
we meeting next
Oh,
time?
but, before we adjourn,
All right, we can't adjourn. Go ahead.
June 2nd meeting, you wanted to discuss canceling June 2nd?
If it's too late for all
Yes.
reports to be in and
case they-
responses, then we can.
Yeah, in case you guys needed to carry, but you're now approved, so we would be canceling the June 2nd meeting.
Woo-hoo.
Okay?
Okay.
So when's our next meeting?
So then that would, actually, good question, that will put us to June 16th is the next meeting. And is there anybody here who has not responded to the special meeting request for June 30th? Anyone?
Oh, Jim did not.
I will not be around on the
16th
30th.
and maybe
I'll have to check my
30th.
calendar.
All right, at this point, Jim's a no, but that may change.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay?
Yes?
All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll send you something.
All in favor?
Okay.
Good night.
Thank you.
Great.